The opinions expressed by individuals and guests do not necessarily reflect those of WRGN Rain Radio ATL or Sound Feast Media LLC.
And I don't know if you'll ever hear me, but I got salt in my wounds from the tears that resulted. Every hurt shows we're mortal.
Hey, what's happening?
Brother, what's up?
This is a good recording, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can
like
dig it.
solid. Right on.
Hey, man, what's your name?
Sweet Gates. Hey, what's up, man? My man.
Everything is everything. Get down today, boy.
Welcome to the Word on the Streets with JP. I'm your host, JP, and you're not going to want to miss today's Sound Feast. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can't stop, won't stop. Where the brakes at? I give him that diddy bop. Like, take that, take that, take that. You can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
We have an awesome show lined up for you today. Today is January 18th, 2019, and welcome to the Word on the Street show with JP. I'm your host, JP. Today we have a special edition. We're going to be talking about the federal government and the fact that it is partially shut down. I don't think the American public realizes the gravity of the situation and the effects that a long-term shutdown will have on our country. On the show today, we're going to be calling a government contracted employee. Her name is Andrea, and we're going to welcome her to the show in just a second. And so let's give her a ringy-dingy. What do you think?
Hello.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. How you doing, JP?
Doing good. Welcome to the Word on the Street show with JP, and you know why I'm calling.
I do.
You do? Yeah, this government shutdown. The reason that I called you is because I know that you're a contracted federal government employee. And
Well, correction. I used to be.
you used to be. Okay. Okay. Well, that's okay too. It's all relevant.
It definitely is.
So we're going to be talking about the long-term effect that this partial federal government shutdown is having on our nation, not just to the federal employee, but to the nation as a whole.
Okay.
And so I know that you hail from a state that has over 20% population is government employees. And tell me what you're seeing on the street there.
Well, it's not really evident yet because there are so many services in place, and I think it's too early to really see the true devastation. A lot of times, because the federal government has done this before, I think people have gotten smarter with their budgets and have learned how to just brace themselves, because we now know that we're just pawns. Even if it was just a cliche or something that happened every now and then, has become like commonplace.
Gotcha. Well, historically, this is the longest that the government, partially or totally, has ever been shut down. So have you been noticing just on the surface the attitude or the state of people that are having financial hardship? Is it starting to be evident just a little bit?
Yeah, things are different. The line in financial institutions are much longer. There's this uneasiness, like when someone gets too close to you, you're like looking over your shoulder and wondering, okay, are you going to grab my bag? Because let's just keep it real. Most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless.
Right, yeah.
And if you keep it all in real perspective, a lot of Americans are a month or two behind in their bills because they've had to regroup, try to catch up from losing another contract. So now they're, just playing a vicious game. It's a cycle of catch up all the time, especially when you're a contractor.
Right, understand.
So I think that the federal government employees probably feel a little bit more comfortable playing catch up because they're going to be reimbursed. They're going to be recouped their money. But it's still not fair.
Right, yeah. So what social services have you seen the evident breakdown? Where do you think it's going from here?
The breakdown, honestly, some people just aren't structured or aren't built to cope with situations like this. If you've never had to struggle or you've always had the comfort and luxury of depending on a consistent paycheck, you never really had to worry about where your next meal was coming from or your next mortgage payment or rent, utilities, food, gas, none of that because you knew it was coming.
Right. Well, was it you that told me that you're starting to see more and more cars on the side of the road, not because they're broken down, but because people are living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford to put gas in their car if they don't have that steady paycheck coming in that they're accustomed to?
Yeah, I have seen that. And I've also seen people like sitting in parking lot, just sitting there, and you just wonder, like, are they waiting for someone? Or are they stuck? They can't go anywhere. They're trying to figure out their next move. There's a lot of that going on. I guess if you've been struggling enough in your life, you already know what that looks like when you see it.
Right.
And no matter how hard people try to hide what's going on, if you've been in that situation before, you already know that's what it is.
Right, yeah. Wow. That's unfortunate. I fear that, well, I don't fear, but the probability is that if this goes any substantial length of time, that we're going to see an uptick in crime, an uptick in a lot of disparities that we thought that as a country we had outgrown.
We wouldn't have to pay.
Right, yeah. So we're going to make that transition here because, you know, not only is this a family-friendly show, but our mission is to preach the gospel. And
Most
so
definitely.
we are a faith-based show. The intent of all of our content is to bring light to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and so that's what we're going to do. So I have done a little homework here, and thank God that as believers, if we're at that level of faith, that we don't have to worry, because God says,
Right.
fear not, because He's
Right.
with us. Be not dismayed, because He is our God. He will help us. He will strengthen us surely, and He will uphold us with the right hand of His
With the right hand of
righteousness.
His righteousness.
That's Isaiah 41:10. And so
Exactly.
we got to band together, especially now as believers, band together and be distribution houses for one another.
And don't forget what Pastor reminds us of constantly is that God is our sword.
Right. Absolutely.
And that if we would only take the time to read His word, to understand how to work the kingdom, to get those benefits from the kingdom when things like this happen in the world, we're already shored up with the word and we already have access to kingdom benefits versus the world's benefits that we think are what are sustaining us.
Right. Most Christians are at the level in their faith where they're just a hopeful, faithful Christian. And, oh man, I hope this works out. But see, if you're in your word and you know the promises of God, you'll know that He'll uphold us with the right hand of His righteousness. That means He's going to send able-bodied, faith-filled, spirit-filled, walking in the word Christians to come to our aid. So those believers that have means are supposed to reach down and pull those that are struggling by the bootstraps and undergird them until a better time. And so that's what should be happening. And, you know, this could turn in easily into a president bashing conversation, but that's not what we're going to do here, because the word says for us to pray for our president. It says 3 specific things. Pray for our president. Pray for those that are put in power over us is more specific. And then the second thing is that God is the only giver of promotion. So if this man has rose to that level promotion, then it was God that did it. And number three, the thing that you said was that God is our only source.
Right.
Okay, so there's four things. There's one more. I'd be remiss if I didn't go into it. It says that in Isaiah 9, verse 6, it says, "For unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." Those are four things that we should know about the Word, about things relevant to these times. Man, we can't lean on what we see. We walk by faith and not by sight. If you know that word, then you know this is an air biscuit lobbed by the enemy to distract. Because
we were just talking about that.
It's an air biscuit. And
it's
so
a distraction.
If you've ever seen a quarterback lob a pass over the line to his tight end that's coming across the middle, this is exactly what this is. They're lobbing air biscuits. When the ball leaves the quarterback's hands, everybody look up at the ball and they forget about what's going on the ground.
Right.
And so here we are, focused on the promises of Jesus Christ, those finished works at Calvary. And we've got to make sure that our faith doesn't falter during these times. You got to believe that you believe that you believe. Like Pastor says, you got to know it in your knower. Know it in the city of your soul.
Right.
That his word is true. And if his word is true, which it is,
right,
and we are more than conquerors. We overcome. We win. So my message, what would be your message to the listening audience, the viewing audience, right now in these times?
You know, when you feel like giving up and you just don't think you can do it anymore, do it again. Because if you've been living this life long enough, you've seen God bring you through already. So why would he bring you through one of the most significant times in your life where you are without the resource that you thought was your source? This is an opportunity for him to show you that he is your only source.
That is the most amazing thing. The Spirit just dropped something in me and says, Bible promises that we would be persecuted and have hard times because of our faith. See, this thing is occurring right now, not only to the body of believers, but it's occurring nationwide. Everybody has an opportunity to participate in this disparity, so to speak. And so you're going to see that those faith-filled Christians are going to rise to the top. I believe that this is the beginning of the transferal of wealth. I believe that we've enjoyed many, many decades of prosperity, but that's the present day reign, which is coming to an end. And now that latter day reign, I believe, is coming with that transference of wealth. In the word, I believe that in the word it says we're going to own homes we didn't build. We're going to own vineyards we didn't plant. And so I believe that that's what's happening. So my word to the listening and viewing audience would be, don't give up. When you feel like suicide, that means that you're about to give birth. That mother that is giving birth feels her worst right before that last push.
Yeah. It's so true.
And so I've never given birth, but that's what I've been told.
And you've been told correct.
Yeah. And so to all of you all that are sitting in a place in your life, in a dark place, that are planning to end it all, don't do it. Do the last thing he called you to do. It's going to be more meaningful now. Not only to you, because you reap the benefit of obedience. Obedience is greater than sacrifice, but do it that others may benefit from your press. And that's the message that I have for the listening audience. So in order not to go into a sermon or sermonette, we're going to go ahead and close this segment out. Your final thoughts?
Let patience work her perfect work.
Yeah, man. And so I'm not going to belabor the fact or the point, but people often, I say this a lot, people often take the Bible and what it says as cliche. But the Bible does say exactly what you said. Let patience have her perfect work. If you really examine that saying, and we're going to call it a day after this. If you really examine that saying, if you let patience have her, if there's a perfect work to enduring in patience, then there's something created specifically, tailor-made just for you on the end of that wait. So wait patiently, wait faithfully, wait serving. Not only yourself and your family, but others. But more than that, do the last thing that our Savior told you to do. Do the last thing that God told you to do. And if the word is true, and if we let patience have her perfect work, you're going to find out what her perfect work is. And it's something tailor-made just for you. Thank you so much for being on this show, Andrea. You are a ray of sunshine. Thank you for your insight. And we're going to stay praying for our president, because the word says pray for those that are put in authority over us. Don't complain about this man, because God put him there for some reason. If God put him there, you pray for him. You pray for the peace of Israel, and you pray that those that aren't believers would be shuffled, ushered into the family of faith because of this government shutdown. And we know that adversity brings people to a place where they go one way or the other. We're hoping that they'll go to God, go to the cross.
The opinions expressed by individuals and guests do not necessarily reflect those of WRG and Rain Radio ATL or Sound Feast Media LLC.
And I don't know if you'll ever hear me, but I got salt in my wounds from the tears that resulted. Every hurt shows we're mortal. You can't stop! Can't stop, won't stop.